Welcome to You've Got This with Sarah Hamaker, a podcast to encourage and equip moms along their parenting journey. Join Sarah each week as she interviews dads and moms like you and discusses the joys, challenges, and rewards of raising kids.
Hi, and welcome to this week's You've Got This. I'm your host, Sarah Hamaker. I'm delighted to have Stacy Verdick Case with me. She's the owner of Peony Lane Designs. She has over 20 years of experience upcycling and designing furniture. She has a shop, an Etsy shop that she sells vintage at, and she's also an award-winning author. So welcome to the show, Stacy.
Thank you, Sarah. How are you? I'm so glad to be here.
I'm doing great, and I am excited to talk about side businesses with kids. There's been a lot of talk on the last several years, really since the Great Recession, about Great Recession, that was the right word, about having a gig economy and having, whether you work full time, whether you stay home with your kids, a lot of us have those little side jobs. Have you found in your own circle of mom friends or just in the people you talk to that there are more people who are doing these little side businesses?
I have, and the nice thing is because they know that I've done this for a while, the ones that aren't doing a side hustle right now are looking to, and they're asking questions, and it's been really fun for me to see this sort of take off because it's a nice way to be home with your kids or make some extra money, and I think it's great, this gig economy.
Oh, yeah, I do too. And as somebody who's, a freelance writer, I've been doing the gig economy for years. Just never called it gig economy. But, and I also.
It's called a starving artist.
Right. Exactly. I called it, thank goodness my husband has a job with benefits and I get to do stuff to help us have, a vacation every once in a while, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
And be home with my kids, which was great. But I also my mom and I started years ago to sell 18-inch doll clothes based on the popular doll which shall remain nameless on the show.
Yes, for copyright reasons.
Yeah, right. I don't get into that. And so that's kind of a gig economy. I get little gig job. We do some festivals, around Virginia where we both live. But it's been fun, and it's something that, I think you can do with kids, but it can be daunting to try to get started. Do you have any advice on someone who's thinking, I've been thinking about doing X? Is there first steps or something really to kind of prepare them before they kind of, chuck it all and, and start their little gig economy, their gig job?
Well, my go-to advice is not to overthink it, because I think that for a lot of people ends up making them talk themselves out of starting.
Yes.
And, with things like Etsy, if you're making products like handmade items like the 18-inch doll clothes and stuff like that, Etsy is such a beautiful way to easily get started and not really have much risk because, listings on there are 20 cents and they're not, they're taking a percentage of your sale, but it's a nice way to get your feet wet and test out the waters before you go full in and go, I'm going to get a credit card reader and go do sales. And,
right.
It's your way to kind of get your sales started and have feedback from customers. Because if you're making stuff, you never know how it's going to be received in the public. And
right.
I think that is my best advice for people that are getting started and are selling a product, and to not overthink it, because so many times I stand with the moms at my daughter's school and they're like, well, I've thought about doing this for years, or I really want to do this someday, but there's always a reason. There's always a reason, and it's that same advice you got when you wanted to have kids is there's never a good time.
Right.
There'll never be the perfect time.
Right, and I think that that's a great point, because you're right, it will never be a perfect time. And maybe some of us are just a little more, brave than others, but I don't think that's quite I'm not sure brave is quite the right word, but you know what I mean. Some of us are a little more optimistic and willing to take a risk. And I think, kind of evaluating, am I really ready to take a risk? You're putting yourself out there.
And that's where, Etsy comes in, because it's low risk and you're not front and center. You're not facing your customer,
Right.
which I think is like the gateway drug for a lot of moms. You know, it's like it's really hard for us to create something that we put our heart and soul into and then stand in front of somebody who goes, oh, that's ugly. You know,
Right.
and it's just soul crushing to
Yeah.
hear that. So I think Etsy is nice that way because they can reject you without you ever hearing it.
Yeah. I will put a plug in for festivals, especially local ones, because it can be, you know, if you've done the Etsy store or if you're thinking of maybe doing both, you know, it can be a little bit daunting, but you can get such great immediate feedback for things.
Yeah.
And if you just go into it and thinking, hey, not that I'm going to sell $1,000 worth of merchandise. If you go into it, hey, this is a market research for me. And yeah, maybe somebody won't buy it, but I'll get great feedback. I think it really depends on, you know, why you're doing them. I have just found them to be, they're a lot of fun, but they can be.
And the nice thing about the local ones is the cost is less.
Right. And your friends and family, they can come by your booth so you won't feel so alone sitting there all day. That's always
and this is the
plus.
best tip for people selling at a festival is do have your friends and family act like shoppers.
Yes.
Because other shoppers are more inclined to walk up to you if you have a shopper standing in front of you.
I know. That is so true, Stacy. I have found that to be so true. But
they're shy too.
Yes. Yeah. Like no one's. We don't want to go talk to the wallflower booth. You know, no one wants to talk to them. So yeah, so invite them over, come over. But also when you have kids, you know, my listeners know I have 4 children. And I do a lot, you know, I stayed home, and work from home as a freelance writer, now as a freelance writer, parent coach, and then I do make the doll clothes on the side. I have way too many things going on, Stacy. But I think you have to look at, you're not going to be up and running with this huge operation from the get-go, and to set, you know, realistic goals for yourself, to get you to take that first step. Right. I mean, you know, you can't go from 0 to 60 with 3 toddlers at home or preschoolers at home. So can you have any advice on how to kind of get started and feel like you're accomplishing something, in kind of that I'm home with the kids space? Right.
And when I started doing the upcycling furniture and stuff like that, it was, I've done it all my life, but the business portion, when I started it, my daughter was still at home, you know, a toddler, and, you know, taking naps and stuff like that. And I was not prepared. And that point that you made about you're not ready to go to 0 to 60 right away is absolutely valid, because I started by renting a booth space thinking I'm all in. And after about a year, I had to give it up because it's just too much. You know, when you don't have the inventory prepared, I would say if you're doing this with a toddler at home, start the Etsy shop first before you rent a booth, like a regular ongoing booth. Get your inventory up and prepared. And it depends on what you're doing. I mean, if you're selling, what are those books, the ones for kids? You know, there's different products that you can sell, like Tupperware or cosmetics and stuff like that. Yeah, the Usborne, that's what it was. Sorry, I'm old.
That's okay.
But yeah, I mean, if you're doing something like that, then obviously you're not worrying about inventory.
Right.
But the business portion you still have to handle. And what I did, and my computer is my phone, so it's portable. It's always with me. When she was napping, I built my website. When she was, you know, at dance classes, I was the antisocial mom sitting in my car working.
Right.
And because we don't, you know, the luxury and the beauty of working a side hustle with your kids is you don't have to keep regular hours.
Right.
So you can do that when she's in dance class, or my daughter has 2-hour archery classes 3 nights a week. And so I've got 6 hours where I am the antisocial mom. And I had written a blog post on my website about, I'm not antisocial, I'm just busy.
Right.
Because somebody had made the comment that you're antisocial, and I'm like, I'm not. I need to get work done, and I can't lose 6 hours a week. and it's like naps are the best time for you to get work done. After she goes to bed, my computer is out and I'm working and I'm painting, and it's like every free second. And my husband says I'm obsessed, and I would agree because it's what I love. It's something that you're passionate about. Obviously, if you're selling Usborne and it's not your passion, it might be a little more tricky to get the energy up when you're really tired.
Right.
But I'm an advocate of being antisocial. When you've got work to do, find a space. And, there's a reason why your kids have two parents. Like, I tell my husband a lot, I need to get this done. She's yours.
Right. Right.
And take advantage of grandma and grandpa.
Right. And a plug for the teenage girls out there in your neighborhood who would love to have babysitting and mother's helper jobs. Okay. So like my daughter.
I hired my cousin, who was 17 at the time, to watch my daughter while I was home. And it was like $30 for a 6-hour day, and it was totally worth the $30 for me because I was getting ready for a big show.
Right.
And I needed it. It's like you need that. If you need that time, then don't be afraid to spend the $30 to hire the kid in the neighborhood to be there while you're home. It feels awkward the first time you do it because I was like, I'm going to be in this room with the door closed and I don't want to hear you guys.
Right.
And she took her out to play and they had fun, and it was not a big deal, but I was there if there was an emergency, and it's like, hey, I'll pay that $30 all week long.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think the point is when you decide to do a side hustle, a side gig, whatever you want to call it, it is a choice that you're making to not be to be perceived as antisocial. I mean, it's a choice that you're making to say, I'd love to go to the park today, but I can't because I have to get this article done. And I can't work at the park for that because, my kids are small, especially when my kids were small enough that I had to, make sure they didn't die on the, on the park. So those are hard choices to make sometimes. And if you're not ready to make those, you might not be ready for a side gig. Right.
And the whole thing is a lot of the times when I'm being perceived as antisocial, it's not affecting my daughter. She's in a class or she's doing something else that's, we paid to put her in this or we paid to put her in that. And it's okay for me to be perceived as antisocial. Some people, they don't like how people judge them. I'm okay with it because I realize that instant she gets out of that class, that computer is away and she is mine.
Right.
And she has all my attention until it's time for her to go to bed, and then I'm back to work. And it's a wonderful payoff for me. I don't care what the mom next door thinks of me as long as my daughter thinks I'm a good mom.
Right.
And so for me, I don't care if they think I'm their best friend. And they're like, why is she always sitting in her car working? And the rest of us are in here chatting and being on Facebook. And it's like, well, because my payoff is a daughter who sees two things. A mom that's paying attention to her when she's around instead of looking at my phone. And a daughter who's seeing her mom strive for something.
Right.
So those are the two things, because I want my daughter to see me reach for my goals. When I was pregnant, I had a very caring, wonderful person who said to me, and I know they're a little misguided, she said, now you give up your dreams in favor of theirs. And I remember being pregnant and thinking, what? Is that the message I want to send here? Because I don't really want to give up my dreams, And and then I thought, well, that's not a good thing for and I knew at the time I was pregnant with a daughter. And I thought, is that what we want our daughters to learn, is that we get pregnant and then we give up everything?
No.
And I thought, no, I don't want her to see that. So for me, I mean, people talk about mommy guilt all the time. And, I don't have mommy guilt because she works with me. It's always take your daughter to work week for me. I mean, my daughter can identify ironstone by sound.
Right.
So I feel like I'm teaching her a skill.
Right. Well, my kids are all good writers, and we talk about grammar at the dinner table. So I feel like my work is done as well, as well, right? And I think that just raises, I think, another aspect of having a side gig is that, whether you're a spectacular success or whether you only sell a few things a week, it's showing your kids and that you have worth outside of being a mom. And I know that you do, even if you don't have a side gig. It's not what I'm saying, but I think it's a tangible way of showing them that we're interesting people. We have, brains and ideas and loves and creativity, and it makes us more interesting.
Right. And she loves to tell her friends about my side hustle. She tells them that mommy builds furniture and mommy, so the kids come over and they're like, what is your mom doing? I don't know. She's got a saw running in my spare bedroom has been turned into a shop. And it's so funny because the kids will come in and they can hear a power saw going. And it's like, well, I got to get some work done.
Right. Exactly. And my kids come in and, I'm at the computer, but I'm writing. I'm not, I'm usually not looking at Facebook all the time. And, they hear me talk about the articles I'm working on or the books I'm writing and those kind of things. They know that, I go to, writers' conferences and meetings and webinars and, because we're always wanting to learn and to grow and to stretch. And I think that it can really kind of show our kids that, we can't, that we can do more than just take care of them. And they don't, when they get older, they don't, but we have a table in my office. They don't need my full attention 24/7. But they're always welcome to come down and work on something else in the office with me. The art supplies, they would come down and draw. They would come down and write their own little stories. They would do puzzles. And I'm working while they're doing that.
And I put my daughter to work. When I'm working on a dresser and she's painting the drawers. It's like, this is a team effort most of the time. And she's gotten really good at visual merchandising in my booth because she's had to go with me to set up my booth and do all this stuff. And it's really funny to hear her go, Mom, I think that would look better over here. And she's right. It's like, it's nice to have this little mini me she's learning right along with me. And I feel like these are skills that someday she'll have. They can't ever take your skills from you.
Right.
So the more you learn is its value, whether you choose a job in that or not, it's value. I know friends who can't use a screwdriver to save their lives, and my daughter is going to know how to rewire a lamp.
Yeah. And also I think it can help them, encourage them to try things.
Right. Oh, absolutely. She's seen me fall flat on my face, and get back up and go, oh, well, that didn't work.
Yes.
So we'll try something else. And it wasn't a devastating moment. So she's learning failure and she's learning successes and learning that it's okay to try and fail.
Right. And when they see you try and fail, because there's some doll clothes that I've kind of cobbled together and made. I'm like, oh, that turned out not at all. That looks really sad. I made these
the Frankenstein dress.
It was the little dog thing that turned out to look like a rabbit. One of my daughters was like, she goes, Mom, she goes, oh no. I said, yeah, I know. I messed the pattern up and what the pattern wasn't clear. And it just turned out to be a total disaster. Really a total disaster. Although I did end up selling 2 of them, which was hilarious. But anyway, but I love the thought, that, we show them failure, we show them how to handle success, and that is just so important.
It is, because a lot of people don't, especially in this Facebook, Instagram, everything's shiny and pretty. You don't see people fail. You don't see their failures. Right. And it's you need to teach your children how to deal with failures. They need to see you struggle. They need to see us succeed. They need to see us fall on our face and get back up. And I think that's so important. Modeling for parents, it's like, don't make your kids think you're Superman. Let them see you struggle at something, because then they'll know that there's not anything wrong with them when they get older and they're struggling.
And it also shows them the benefits of hard work. Right. I mean, it just, articles just don't happen. Doll clothes don't just come together. Furniture doesn't magically spring from the earth. It takes, no matter what you're doing, it takes effort to do it, especially because it's not your full-time job for many of us. Sometimes we're doing it after our full-time job, so they can see that how you can use your passion to do something. And B, that hard work does pay off. We may fall down and fail, but, when we work hard and we turn out quality products and services, people will want those. Right.
And it's so exciting for her to see when she's gone to sales with me, because my family, I tote them along and everything. And she'll see things that she's loved get sold, and she's like, oh, I'm so glad it found a new home, because we're very big on, a lot of the things that I do, it's because I don't want to see a piece of quality furniture end up in a landfill. So she's been with me when we're picking up furniture off the side of the road. And then she sees it come into, being this beautiful thing. And then she sees somebody buy it, and she's just excited for it. It's like this full circle moment. And so I'm teaching her that things aren't trash simply because it's broken. And, there's just a lot of little life lessons that your kids learn from watching you do your side hustle, and it's just, I think it's important. It's a balancing act. It's that whole circus, stand on a ball, balance and juggle, but it's worth it, totally worth it. I don't miss the sleep. I do get antsy if I'm not doing it, though. Like, we'll take a weekend and go up to the lake, and I'm sitting there with nothing to do, and I think, how did I ever just do nothing before I did all this?
Right. And there's nothing wrong with taking some time to relax. I know that's not what you're saying, Stacy, but you're right. I mean, I think it is good when we can use our gifts and abilities to create things of beauty, of importance to others, of interest to others, and of interest to ourselves. I would still write even if no one bought my stuff, because it's who I am. It's part of me. And I think that when we show that to our kids through our little side gigs or our passions and hobbies, I think that's just, it just shows them another aspect of being an adult that's a positive thing.
Right. And she's saying that, I'm making money doing something that I love. That work doesn't have to be this horrible thing that your mom comes, because when I commuted 2 hours a day and, did the whole awful, awful job that I hated, the soul-sucking job, she saw this grouchy mommy who came home every day angry, and now she's seeing me, I have something that makes me happy, and I'm doing this work that is grueling and exhausting, and at the end of the day, I'm still smiling.
Right.
So that you can work hard and not be miserable.
Yes. Yeah. I love that.
And I think that's important too. Yeah. Kids need to see that you can do work that makes you feel good.
Right. And that satisfaction in a job well done, just for the sake of the job well done. Is so important. And I think that is a great way to end our talk today, Stacy. So,
thank you.
Yeah, you've been listening. Yeah, you've been listening to You've Got This. I'm your host, Sarah Hammaker, and I've had with me today Stacy Verdick Case. She's the owner of Peony Lane Designs. And be sure to check out her Etsy store. I'm sure you'll see some wonderful things. And I hope you'll join me next week.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast of You've Got This with Sarah Hammaker. Sign up to receive notification of new podcasts and listen to previous editions at sarahhammaker.com. Until next time, remember, parenting might be hard sometimes, but don't worry, you've got this.